What's going on, guys? This is Prince Dykes here, as always, coming to you guys with another awesome Prince review. Today's book is going to be The Power of Broke by Daymond John. You get it? Power of Broke, Daymond John. This is his book here. I read it a little while ago. I had brought it from Bartholomew, Washington, off of his site, and I got it here. Pretty good book. So I'm going to give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. But as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump straight into it. So The Power Broke by Daymond John. Well, I would say what I liked about it. Most people probably know Daymond John from the ABC hit show Shark Tank. I don't know Daymond John. I never met Daymond John. I seen him. Most people know him from being one of the judges on Shark Tank and also for FUBU. But I know he did a lot of other things. But most people know him from one of the founders of FUBU and the Shark Tank. So I don't know him, haven't met him. This is just a complete 100% opinion of the book itself by sitting down, reading it, or whatnot. Now, one of the best things he did with this book was create an audiobook. Very good idea because of everybody lives on the go now. Everybody's moving around, whether we're on trains, all that good stuff. So that was good. Now, what you think I should do first, the good or the bad? I guess we'll go with the good stuff first. What I did like about the book, it was a wealth of information, knowledge, and it pretty much just go and show you where sometimes we think that we always need an investor to get started. I got to have an investor. If I don't have an investor, then I'm not going to be able to do anything. Or we think that, hey, I have this money. If I get this money, something is automatically going to work. For example, he was speaking with the company like Coca-Cola he spoke about when they went out and created the new Coke, and it became one of the worst selling products ever. But because these board members sit around and they had all of this money, they decided to reinvent the recipe for Coca-Cola for no reason, when the Coca-Cola they already had was perfect and fine and already working. So it was it pretty much is going with the flow of just because you got money, it doesn't mean that something is going to work. And if something's working, you can just stick with it. Now, in this book, he goes through a ton of stories of how entrepreneurs who pretty much started with nothing and used Instagram or used Facebook or used Twitter or used their thought process or whatever the case may be, and just because by them being broke, they came up with ingenious ideas to make money. They was innovative because they was broke. And the thing about it is, when you're broke, people sometimes it's a good place to be at, because once you get all this money, you just start slushing money around, throwing money around, and starting to think that, hey, I got a problem, I'll just throw more money in it. I got another problem, I'll throw more money in it. And he was saying how sometimes having an investor at the wrong time or too early, it could actually damage you and hurt you. Let's say, for example, I'm just throw raw numbers out here. I don't have them all particular. Let's say if you own 100% of your company and you wanted to get $10,000. So you give away 20% of your company to get $10,000. Now your company starts to make money. Now you're probably making, let's say, I don't know, $20,000 or whatnot, but 20% of that money is now gone. So now that hey, now since 20% of my money is gone, now that I'm making money, let me go get another investor. You go grab another investor, you give away another 20% of your company. Now your company is making $50,000, but guess what? You gave away 40% of your company. So now, your profit margin is shrinking even more, so you go get another investor. Classic story when you look at what happened to Wiley, Famous Amos. That was a great story that has appeared here or on the channel for a little bit, but he has another interview that I'm going to talk about. But that's one of the things that happened. So he was stating in this book about how having money could actually damage you, how having money could hurt you. This is why you have an influx of maybe some immigrants or people from the inner city that come up with these great ingenious ideas from out of nowhere. Because by having nothing, you become creative and think of all these great things. And that's pretty much the power of broke. So that was a good thing about giving the history and giving the history and looking at everything all together. So that was a good part about the book. Now let's get down to the stuff I didn't like. The stuff I didn't like. I read this book. You see the guy on the cover is Daymond John, right? So I wanted to learn a little bit more about Daymond John, which he did a great job of doing, what he told about himself and everything. But the bad part I didn't like about it, I thought he went way too far on the deep end of these other stories. He had like a couple people entrepreneur stories that he went and told, but I think he went way too in depth on the stories. It got sometimes to where I'm like, whose book am I reading? Almost. I felt, if sometimes it felt like I was getting a recap of Shark Tank, also mixed in with running off into somebody else's story way too detailed and far. I didn't need to know where the person grew up and what they ate and what they didn't like and how people didn't like them. That was way too far. I mean, he could have just said, hey, these people came from this point, hit the hot points, and stuck on track with what people picked this book up for. People picked this book up, or I picked this book up. I want to hear Daymond John, and I want